Karibu sana ndani Mwelekeo TV. I'm Tony Nakoko.
Welcome back to Mwelekeo TV. I'm Vika Mohamed.
A very good morning, members of the internet. Welcome to an exciting episode back here at Badunia. Mr. Tony. Kama kawaida kwenye mitandao ya kijamii utanipata kama Tony Nakoko on all social media platforms. And by the way, thank you so much kila mtu ambaye anahakikisha kwamba unatufuatilia kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Our first episode has blown up, man, on social media. Our social media handles are all blown up. We've received your feedbacks, your comments, your reactions, and let me say we are working on them. Thank you so much kwa wale ambao wanahakikisha kwamba unatufuatilia on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's Mwelekeo Insights on YouTube, and also on TikTok. It's Mwelekeo TV. If you've not subscribed, kindly subscribe ndio upate kujuzwa what we are working on. Today, we just want to take it a notch higher. We just want to have a candid conversation on matters youth, leadership, policy. In our country today, we have so many issues kuhusiana na masuala ya vijana. Vijana wanasema kwamba wanatelekezwa kuhusiana na masuala ya kisheria, policy making, and that's why we shall be having a candid and open discussion about the youth agenda in the country. And to help me dive into this very conversation is a well-established lady. Her name is Angel Mbuthia. From her groundbreaking leadership in student politics to her work on the national, regional, continental, and global platform, Angel has consistently championed youth representation, women leadership, and inclusive governance. Tutakuwa tunazungumza naye kuhusiana na masuala ya kina mama, masuala ya vijana, na pia masuala ya kijamii ambayo yanakuhusu wewe na mimi. And always remember, at Mwelekeo TV we always bring data. We always bring dialogue into data. Kindly subscribe on our social media platforms ili tuweze kujuzana, tuweze kuelimishana kuhusiana na masuala muhimu ya kijamii. Karibu sana Mbuthia.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Welcome to the show.
Asante.
I must confess, kwanza unakaa vizuri.
Asante.
And I must say that looking at your portfolio, I must say you've achieved a lot in your belt.
Thank you.
I'll just take you through a sneak preview, an overview of who Angel Mbuthia is, together with her leadership journey. Angel Mbuthia kicked off her leadership journey at the student organization of the Nairobi University, SONU, first as the academic affairs secretary and then as a vice president, deputizing the current member of parliament for Embakasi East, Babu Wino. Iwapo unamjua Babu Wino, ni yule mwanasiasa mkomavu na shupavu ambaye anafanya masuala mengi kwa hivi sasa. She also serves nationally as a director of the Kenya National Youth Council Advisory Board, playing a central role in advising youth policy. She's the right person to talk about youth policy, especially now in the country. Regionally, she was elected chairperson of the first ever COMESA Youth Advisory Panel, COMEAP, a milestone in youth representation across Eastern and Southern Africa. Inamaanisha kwamba she's not only experienced on matters Kenya, but on the international and also the regional trade. On the continental stage, she is the Secretary for Gender and International Relations at the All African Students Union, headquarters in Accra, Ghana. Internationally, she was selected as a Mandela Washington Fellow, a prestigious United States Department program for young African leaders, and appointed to the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs International Youth Advisory Committee. Now, to 2022, Mbuthia became Miss President Season 2 in a nationally televised leadership campaign, a competition that was focused on elevating women in public policy and governance. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa tunazungumzia masuala, pia tutakuwa tunazungumzia masuala ya Gloria Oroba ambayo tuliona alikuwa anafanywa vitu jana. So these are some of the conversation we'll also be having. And finally, Angel has also been recognized in Business Daily Top 40 Under 40 Women Achievers, a testament of her leadership, influence, and promise to Kenya's future. Karibu sana Angel.
Thank you so much, Tony.
With such an extraordinary portfolio at such a young age, both regionally, nationally, internationally, and globally, how does it make you feel, kwanza?
I think you've even made me reflect on so much as you read that.
We walked down memory lane.
Yes. I'm like, okay, I've done quite a bit. But I think what is ahead is much more tedious, and that is where the goal lies. All those are good platforms to push anyone into exactly what they want to be. And I appreciate all those achievements I've had, but again, there's much more ahead than what has already happened.
Well, let's talk about how you found yourself in these very positions. What has been your driving point? Kila siku unaamka unasema, hey, I must achieve something. What has been your driving point all through?
I think on a day-to-day basis, you won't feel that happening. It's like drawing a graph. You only see it clearly once you have many more points to join. But it's been exciting when you find something you're passionate about, something you can speak on and you work on and you polish on every day. I think that's what gets you there, and also surrounding yourself with people who are also supporting you and are also aligned with your vision, and you support each other as well. It's an exciting journey. It can be lonely sometimes, but there's also that thrill. You know, when we talk about politics, once you get into it, sometimes you don't know how to leave it. It's like a drug, but it's exciting, and I'm happy so far, thank God.
Now, looking at your leadership journey, nimeona kuna wakati fulani you're the deputy to the current Embakasi East Member of Parliament, Babu Owino.
Yes.
Kwanza, how was it working with him? Sababu kuna watu wanasema controversial, but in real sense kuna watu wanasema umejifunza mengi kutoka kwake. How was it working with him?
He's an exciting guy. He's very brilliant. He's very straightforward. He's a fighter, and he has this country in his heart, especially the young people of Kenya, and even students at that particular time when we advocated for students' rights, ensuring that the right to education remained a right and not a privilege or a preserve of the rich. That is something that we really fought for when we were in office, and I'm very glad of the things that we achieved at that time. And I'm so happy for him. He's doing very well. I believe he's going to become the next governor for Nairobi. He has all it takes. And even as I work my way up on my own path as well, I think there's a lot I learned at that time. And I still have the motivation to keep doing more, because we achieved so much when we were very young and when we had very little. But now that there is more, I think we can even do so much more, especially for this country. Yeah.
In 2022, Angel, you became the Miss President,
Yes.
Season 2.
Yes.
It's quite a massive show. Ulijifunza nini kutokana na hii? And how did you get into the Season 2 of Miss President?
Well, I just applied like every other person who was on the show. And I worked hard, and one thing that I saw, even beyond just working hard, it's about how you relate with people and how you connect with them. Because I keep saying that, yes, I was the winner of the show, but 50% of that winning of that show, I would attribute it to the Miss Presidents, the other contestants, my competitors. In a way, they taught me how to navigate thick waters and how to also understand many issues about this country and what the issues are, and connecting the dots, because there's how I have a perspective on things, but then they also get to share in all these other facets, and having them drawn from different backgrounds of this country, from Turkana to Western Kenya to Loitoktok to Pwani to Central Kenya. It was so exciting to see the diversity of Kenya and to celebrate that, and to know that there's so much potential we have in this country, not just for any Kenyan, but even for the women of this country. Yeah.
Now, Business Daily, Top 40, Under 40, you're among the few women who've been listed in that category. How did ilikufanya ukafeel aje?
Well, I have seen that listing. Business Daily does every year. On the International Women's Day in the month of March. They celebrate and they acknowledge their top 40 who are under 40. And so I was listed in the 2023 edition. It was quite exciting. Then I was still serving in the Kenya National Youth Council. And it was a lot about the work I was doing for the young people then that got me shortlisted in the top 40, under 40. Very exciting and quite humbling, I must say.
Sasa hii nataka tuingie kwenye gist ya the discussion today,
Yes.
but before that, I just want you to look into the camera. Kisha ambia watu social media handles za kwako, alafu let's get the conversation going.
Oh yeah, mine. My social media handles are very simple. It's Angel Mbuthia on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Angel Mbuthia. And if you want to email me, it's still the same, angelmbuthia@gmail.com. Asante.
Now, Angel, I was looking at your portfolio na nikaona kwamba ni safari ndefu ambayo you've walked it labda peke yako, labda na watu wengine, both regionally, globally, internationally. But first, what inspires you to pursue leadership and diplomacy? Nini nakuvutia kwamba kila siku kukiamka, I want to pursue this leadership and advocacy as a woman leader in the country?
I think that Kenya has a lot of potential. It can grow tremendously. I think Kenya can be a very big giant in Africa. And so having served in different platforms, it has also given me the opportunity to travel across the world and to see what other countries are doing. And when I look at Kenya and I think that there is so much that we are not doing that we can do. So I put myself there to ensure that at least I am giving that spark to the nation so that someone else can do the same, and then we can light it up and ensure that if it's our infrastructure, if it's our hardware and our software of our country, that we are able to keep shaping it. And I think this is the generation that will do exactly that. I think every generation has a quest, and ours is very clear. And so we must remain steadfast and loyal to realizing it, and that is why I am there.
Oh. Unajua kwenye safari, especially for leadership and women, unapata kuna changamoto nyingi ambazo mnazipitia. And number one, like the 2/3 gender rule in parliament, pamoja wanasema kwamba wanawake wapatiwe nafasi katika jamii kwenye uongozi. So as Angel Mbuthia, najua umekumbana na hizi changamoto. What are some of the challenges you've faced on your journey, in your leadership journey, and how are you able to tackle them?
I think one of the most interesting challenges is even from the family. You will not have the blessing of the family to do politics, especially as a young woman. So that's something I had to do so much. And maybe that has pushed me to doing a little bit more beyond what I can just do comfortably, so that I can show them that I can do this and they need to give me their blessing so that I can do this. Because one of the things that can be a challenge in politics is moral support. And so getting your family to buy into your dream, I think I thought was very important for me. So I ensured that I worked harder. I made sure I graduated in school on time, even as I was doing my politics. I made sure I went ahead and did my master's. I was also doing my CPAs, which I did and finished. So unaambia, you tell your family, nimemaliza. So let me do this, which I love to do the most. And it has taken time to convince them that that's something that I can do. Being a young woman, being a woman even, not even just being young, but even just being in a political space, a very male-dominated environment. Because even when we look at our country, if it were not for special seats like women rep, there are some counties that would not have any woman representation. There are counties that have not elected even members of county assembly. The MCAs that they have in their county assemblies are nominated. So it's a very long journey that we have to walk as a country. We have to appreciate that we cannot run this country with 50% of the population not being on the decision-making table.
Now, as a woman, do you feel like the current constitution grants the woman an opportunity to lead this country?
I think the constitution is very clear, and the laws in Kenya are also very clear, very supportive. One of the most progressive laws we have in Africa and possibly even in the world. And it's up to the institutions that are there to implement them. I think Kenya is known to be having the best policies. I mean, if Rwanda is picking out policies that are drafted in Kenya, and it is one of the most 50-50 nation-driven, both in the private sector and in the public sector, something that Kenya has not been able to achieve, is something that I think this generation of ours needs to realize. Because when we are looking at even KCSE results now, we are seeing even the girls getting top 5. And that was not something that was there 5-10 years ago. So education is also one of the best equalizers for our society, which I think is part of our constitution that is facilitating that. But there needs to be more environments in the private sector especially, and even in the public sector in governance, that we need to see more women getting room and allowing themselves to even contest in the first place.
Now looking back at your leadership journey, labda kuna wakati fulani kuna kitu ambacho kilifanyika and you notice that you're making an impact in the society and this thing keeps you going every day. Is there an instance like that?
Yeah, I think when I was shortlisted for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, this is a very global program. It's a young African leaders initiative. It's conducted by the U.S. government. It's a U.S. government funded program, and so when I was admitted to be the fellows of 2024, it made me, when I was in the U.S. and I was studying there public policy and understanding public policy concepts of the U.S. in relation to Africa, and even working with Senator Chris Coons as one of my professional development engagements. And every morning I would go to the office in Capitol Hill and working around the senator in the U.S. And then that gave me a sort of a gist that I think you're on the right track. Please keep going. Whatever you're doing, keep going. You may not be able to figure it out all at the same time. But keep going. That was a turnaround moment for me. Yeah.
Najua kuna wanawake ambao ni wachanga, wengine wako shule, some of them are in colleges, campuses, na wanashangaa how did Angel Mbuthia achieve all this, na labda wanataka a word of encouragement as we get into the youth voice in governance. But before we get into that, wewe unaweza ambia nini mtoto wa kike ambaye anatamani sana to make these strides like Angel Mbuthia? What word of encouragement wewe unaweza wapatia?
Well, I would really encourage them to take their education seriously. That can never be underestimated. For any woman in the world, education is primary. Whether it's formal or informal, education is number one. Do not buy into this agenda of that tunasoma hatuna kazi. It plays a very, very critical role in shaping your social life, even your home life. I think that's very key. But now there's the beauty of technology. You don't have to work so hard we worked, working here, working there, trying this out. There's technology. You're able to go into whatever you're passionate about. You're able to get stuff on YouTube on how things are exciting. There are people you can follow. There's so much in the advent of technology. There is artificial intelligence. You can get any information from AI, and it's becoming better every day. So you don't have to struggle the way we've struggled. We are millennials. I'm a millennial, so sisi tunajua tu struggle. We just know how to struggle. And I don't think that should be the case for anyone who comes after us. It should just be direct. If this is what you like to do, be empowered and fashion yourself in that industry. And that way our country even becomes better. And we have many more opportunities that will get to open up. Being in government will not be the lottery, it will be in the private sector.
Umesikia, kama ni mtoto wa kike na unatamani sana to climb this ladder of success, chukulia masomo yako with a lot of seriousness. Now you've talked about the Gen Z, the millennials. It's a conversation we'll be having in our next segment about the generational gap between the Gen Z and the millennials. But first, you've been an advisor to the Kenyan youth policy on matters policy, and together at COMESA.
Yes.
But do you think vijana ama the youth in the country wanapatiwa an opportunity and enough space to shape the governance and policy in the country?
My short answer is no. Not even just in Kenya, even globally. I have seen the biggest gap with especially giant or established institutions, governments, African unions, COMESA, the United Nations. You know, there is this tendency of trying to set up a youth advisory wing to, and these institutions don't know how to engage with these young people. They don't know how to embed their ideas into their bureaucratic and long-standing, the way they have been running things is not the way the young people want to run them. And that way there's a big clash even internally. You will get yourself in an advisory unit, let's say like the National Youth Council in government here, the Kenya National Youth Council. You find that it's quite difficult when you're trying to even engage the government that you're also working for. And they're not seeing things the way you're seeing them. And then a different issue for Kenya, I would say, is that there are so many pockets of youth engagements within government. You'll see the Kenya National Youth Council, then you'll see the National Youth Service, then you'll see NACADA, Then you'll see the national empowerment, youth empowerment programs. Then there's the Hustler Fund. Then there's there are so
Kazi kwa
many.
vijana.
Yeah, and you see, if you look at them, they're all in different ministries. And we had a very proper initiative that I think would have given better light to young people of having a National Youth Commission, where you collapse all these small entities and put them in one unit. Because you'll find that governments, they don't communicate with each other. And that way they're not even able to know what do young people need. Now, why would NACADA be in the Ministry of Interior? I mean, it is not an arresting organ, it is not an investigative organ, it is an advocacy organ, which should be either with the National Youth Council or with the Ministry of Youth and the National Youth Service. Why is it in the Ministry of Labor? Bring it, put them together so that when you're even keeping track of what government is doing for the youth, it's much easier. That's just a perspective I have, but then again, I still think there's so much to be done in the realm to realize young people in governance.
Would you say that the biggest challenge is it policy making or the implementation ama paperwork? Where do you think hapa ndo kuna shida kizungumkuti?
I think it's both. I think yes, we have good policies that establish these institutions, but even how we link them up, you'll find that there are different policy procedures that also disallow them from interacting. So I think it goes both ways, because for you to have a National Youth Commission, that's a policy process. So it's not there, it doesn't exist. But there are other different ways that it could also be made to look like it exists, like working or strengthening the National Youth Council. I think it's one of the best organs Kenya has, because the other countries in Africa are struggling to have the same. And Kenya seemed to have one of the best. And Kenya is not doing enough. So I think there is an opportunity there, both in the policy-wise and even in terms of implementation.
Now let's take it a notch higher and let's talk about the intergenerational tension. A few months ago, we conducted a research and released a research where we interviewed individuals above the age of 30, and we asked them about the Gen Z movement that has gained momentum in the country today. And a majority of these people admired the courage of these young people in the Gen Z, but the method in which they try to bring out their cries is where wanasema, tunawapenda sana, courage yenyu tunapenda, but when it comes to the method of delivering your voices is where tunakosana kidogo. What do you think is the biggest challenge between these two group of people, the Gen Z and the millennials?
I don't think there is a difference between the Gen Z and the millennials, especially in the quest for good governance. We might be different in terms of the kind of music we like listening to, the kind of dressing we like, but in terms of governance and advocating, there is no difference. Because millennials are the ones who have been struggling to get jobs. Yes. They graduate, they don't have opportunities, they cannot marry, they cannot have children, because the economy does not allow them. And the Gen Z have seen that this is the trap that we are going to get into, so we need to be able to catalyze something. So I don't see a difference, especially in terms of advocating for governance. When I'm in the streets, I see both categories. It is a war against the older generation, yes. The ones that have been there, and they have been doing the things the same way, not thinking about the future. They are feeding off of what is there today, and there is nothing left for the young people. Whether it is between from even 40s, even though those who are at their 40s are feeling the heat, because they are still at 40 and they are still looking for jobs. And that one is a very, very critical issue. It's the critical mass. I don't see a difference between that. I see the intergenerational conflict coming between the young people between the ages of 18 to 35, even 40, versus those who are above that.
Let's talk about the political as we conclude on this. Let's talk about the political aspect of it. There are those who are saying that the Gen Z will shape up the political landscape come 2027. Do you think this is true? Ama, this is just a passing wave?
I am very confident that the Gen Z will, the Gen Z uprising continues even as we speak today, and that's why we're even having this conversation. I think it's been taken from the streets to the online platforms, but government is still chasing young people in those platforms. If it's in the streets, it's shooting them and killing them. If it is online, it is abducting them for making a post. But now, it looks like it has quieted down, but there's a lot going on in the minds of people. The conversations that people are having physically, one-on-one, are different because government has found a way of trying to muzzle young people wherever they are. But I think there's going to be a very, very strong comeback. And it's going to be now more visible than it is at the moment. But I'm very confident that the young people of Kenya, not just the Gen Zs alone, but any other Gen Z mindset will be able to transform this country in the days to come, not even just 2027.
In the days to come.
Yeah.
Now, if you're joining us, kindly subscribe on our social media platforms. I'm having a one-on-one conversation with Angel Mbuthia. Let's talk about social economic realities in the country. Unemployment is an issue in the country. Cost of living, access to opportunities remain key struggles, especially for the young people in the country. If you had to name 3 urgent priorities for young Kenyans, what will they be? Vitu tatu peke yake ambao unahisi kwamba serikali ama policy makers need to do for them to change these issues of unemployment, mambo ya ukosefu wa kazi, what will it be?
Number 1, the Kenya Kusha government must go. There is no hope here.
Yeah.
There is no hope with the Ruto administration. We tried to tell him and the administration that in after the protests last year.
But wanasema they have empowered young people.
No, they have not. That is not empowerment. That is bribing. That's bribery. I totally disagree with the mindset that our government has set out. Putting the fear of the Lord in us because of speaking out is not the way to run a country.
True.
And going about grandstanding and showing off millions when young people are struggling to find jobs is not the right way to run any country. There's everything wrong with speaking ill about young people. Young people have been called alcoholics, they have been called criminals, they have been called terrorists. These are the same young people that we need to empower and the ones that are going to grow this country. There is absolutely everything wrong with our administration. Every single day that passes and they are in office, it is a doomsday for Kenya. I think that in a nutshell. Because we have worked so hard to show this government, this is what works, this doesn't. Don't employ corrupt people. Goes ahead to do that. Like showing us the middle finger. And even placing them in critical boards, like the chairperson of the engineering board in Kenya is someone who has no experience in engineering. What are you showing engineers who are in the university working 5 years, 6 years, 7 years?
At the Ministry of Health.
Yes, and these are some of the things that we do wrong as a country. What are we showing the over 70% of our population when we are talking about having foreign investment coming into the country, and you want to charge these people for setting up businesses corruptly from the airport? How are we going to grow our country? It doesn't make sense when every other time it's a money-making industry. E-citizen, which is supposed to be a very very wonderful component, 2% goes into someone's pocket for every transaction that you make. 2 cents or 10 shillings or 5 shillings. 5 shillings for 10 million people every day. What does that mean? What are we telling the people of this country?
Kuna mtu alikuwa anasema kwamba as young people in the country, don't ask what the government has done to you. Ask what you can do to the government. The reason why I'm asking this is because, in your view, are youth themselves doing enough to innovate and create opportunities, or are we strongly relying on the government to create for us opportunities?
I think young people have ticked their checklist. They were told, go to school, stay focused. Okay, they did that. They were told, don't do drugs, don't indulge, get A's, go to the university. They did that. They are told, go to the university, don't be idle, get an internship, start an attachment, do photography, start even a podcast like this one. You don't have to wait to... I mean, young people have done everything it takes for them to stay ahead. But what does the government do? It gives them 500 shillings, 1,000 shillings to start a business. Is that how much you need to even buy a camera to start photography in your school? I think young people have set themselves out to do more, to make their parents proud, because we say that we left home to change home, but we are not able to do that because the environment is just difficult, and you can't get a job even in government if you don't know someone. The private sector, every other day we read on the newspaper about one industry closing, another one closing, another creating new ones. We are just making steps backwards. We are not even making one step ahead. So the government ideally is to create an enabling environment, but the government of Kenya has not created an enabling environment for the young people.
Now let's
of
talk
Kenya.
about technology. It's one area that the government during the campaigns promised that they will put so much funding into it, but ukiangalia wengine wanasema kwamba the money that is being made from technology is being taxed and something of the sort. So digital platforms, innovation hubs, or even social media, are they shaping the economic empowerment for the youth? Do you think they're shaping?
I think it's a credit not even to this administration, but to the previous administration that really set out on ensuring that there is digital infrastructure, creating the digital superhighway, even a term that I read in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, but I don't see that because they are looking at technology as their enemy. If there is anything the government of Kenya fears is the technology that is in young people. They are looking at that as the avenue where the government can be brought down. They are not looking at it as an opportunity for young people to thrive.
Yeah.
And you see, young people, as you had asked me earlier, they are doing so much. There was even this story by CNN when they were talking about academic fraud, where young students in Kenya are doing exams for students in America, abroad, all over the world, and they are getting paid doing that, and they are using technology and their brains. And you see, there's so much young people are trying to do with technology, and even making technology a tool of governance and accountability. You see, it's the same one they use to even shape discussions, even understand the finance bill. You just need to attach it on an AI and you ask it, what is this? What are the contents of this bill? What should I be looking out for? It gives you all that analysis. You don't even have to read the whole document. But there is so much in technology that we are not allowing ourselves to. Government is looking at it as an opponent, and talking about how it will tax it, talking about how it will become more expensive, charging more on data, which is something that we really need to open up as a country. We are not making use of it.
With someone na akaniambia kwamba compare Kenya and Tanzania, our economy is quite stable as compared to Tanzania. But unapata data consumption and charges in Kenya are more higher as compared to Tanzania. And yet Tanzania, in terms of economic policies, wako chini yetu.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Mwelekeo Insight recently conducted a research on issues of how fiscal policies affect citizens. From where you sit, how does government spending and taxation policies impact the youth more uniquely than other groups? Because tulikuwa napata vijana wengi wanasema the issue of taxation, double taxation have become common, especially in the country today. From where you sit, do you think this affects the youth in the country today?
I think you'll see very well that I think we had one of the most progressive policies with the Building Bridges initiative when we talked about tax holidays for young people. And you'll see that every economic textbook will tell you that for every 100 businesses that start today, only 15% will make it to fruition. The other 85% will die along the way. And it's because of certain issues like taxation,
licensing,
and the legalities around it, which are things that the government can, going back to the same concept of creating an enabling environment. But it doesn't do that. So let's say, for example, today I want to start up a soft drinks company, and I start selling soft drinks in supermarkets and all that. The giants will come and they will buy me out. I will not see the light of day. And at the same time, I'm expected to file returns on the same. At what point is my small business going to thrive if these bottlenecks continue to strangle us? I think even when we're talking about we're having a conversation with digital entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who work in the digital space, and they say that even creating an app, you require a lot of certification for that, and you have to pay so much just to develop an app that can be running in Kenya. that is also something that impacts them. When you look at even digital taxi drivers, they're saying that a bigger percentage of what they pay goes to the government. It is so expensive because they are paying almost up to 25 to 30%. It's almost like a pay as you earn, and there's still commission that they have to render. And I think these are some of the things that can be made easier by government.
Now let's take it a notch higher. Tuzungumzie masuala ya gender, because I'm quite sure you're passionate about gender, youth and inclusion. As Secretary for Gender and International Relations at the All African Students Union, what is the state of gender inclusivity in youth leadership today, having in mind that the government is trying as much as it can to ensure that youths and women are included in all their policy frameworks?
I think working with the All Africa Students Union, it gives you a good platform to look at the continent. And one thing I'd like to say is that Kenya is one of the most progressive in terms of seeing to it that women or girls are included. And as I hinted on education, being one of the best equalizers that we have in the country. I think it is through education that we have seen more girls getting access to education and getting an opportunity or a chance at life. I don't think if we had I mean, we used to pay, 30,000 Kenya shillings per year at the university. It was like free, and you have help at the same time. You see, now, as we're even discussing as a country, the state of education in the country, which is now becoming a preserve for the rich, is something that is going to affect our girls as well directly. Because if a single mother somewhere in the village cannot afford university fees, that means you can only study to a certain level. Before, it didn't matter where you came from, didn't matter who you are, whether you are an orphan or you come from a single parent home or you come to both parents, or it's one of the best places to find equalization. I think there's more that can be done in terms of ensuring that education remains a right to every child in Kenya. That must not change. And education is not an expenditure, it is an investment to our nation. And I wish government would look at that more keenly and ensure that there are all these other factors that can be there, but ensuring that education still, because it holds a lot in terms of gender equality, ensuring that the more a girl stays in school, the more they're able to plan their life, even in terms of teenage pregnancies, because these are the things that slow down the success of a young woman in Kenya, or even anywhere in Africa or in the world. But if you have an education, it helps you manage yourself better.
Now, before getting into the research that we conducted of women between ages of 18 and 30, it was a very interesting finding that we got from it. But I just need a quick reaction from you. Do you believe Kenya's cultural attitudes towards women in leadership are changing fast enough, especially among the youths in the country?
I think it's a very cultural thing. It's very deep-seated. I think some parts in Kenya have it more than others. Some areas in the Rift, you'll find that it's still a very difficult conversation, especially in other parts of the country that still hold on to FGM, even as illegal as it is, and other places where they don't believe that women stand a chance. I think it's still a very long way we have to go, and that's why we are seeing more young women staying single, or even preferring to raise children on their own. Or, I mean, it's a very deep-seated conversation, and I think it's going to take us some time to get there. And it's not even just in Kenya. When I travel around the world, I see that issue more strongly, especially even in Asian countries. It's still a very difficult issue where they have the caste system, and there's that conversation about women being raped in India because they come from a lower caste. That's a very, very difficult conversation there. And then you have even places like in Europe where even today they still are not electing women. Even in America, it's not as progressive as we might think in terms of the women conversation. So we have a lot to do, even as a world, as the world, not even just as Kenya. Yeah.
Now, earlier this year, we conducted a research on women between the ages of 18 and 30, and majority of women in the urban centers wakasema kwamba for them they are okay with being in a polygamous relationship provided their needs are well taken care of. Now, what do you make of this as a young woman in the leadership space? Do you think it's something that should be embraced, ama kuna vitu ambavyo vinastahili kufanywa?
Well, I think we are dealing with so much, from food security to unemployment. How you want to live your life as a young person in Kenya is up to you. I think who you want to be with, those are bedroom matters. I think you should handle them there. It only becomes an issue when it becomes when there's rape involved, or when there's murder, or when there's suicide. You know, those tensions. What I encourage is that you get into something that you can manage, something that makes you happy. And if young women have chosen that they want to be in such engagements, that's up to them. I think as a country, it's a free nation, and there's a freedom to associate. As long as you have your mental health, your steadiness of mind, proceed.
Now, financial burden has become a major challenge, especially for women in the country. And that's why when conducting the research, tukapata kwamba majority of ladies, sawa, me provided, huyu mwanaume ataniprovidea pesa, I'll provide for me a good life, for me, I'm okay with it. Do you think the policies and frameworks, especially that have been put in place, do they favor the woman, or do they favor the man more as compared to the woman?
I think like we were talking about the political economic situation in the country, and how young people are really becoming more aggressive and are finding their own opportunities where they can. It's just that the struggle of the economy is becoming overbearers, and that's why you see such sentiments, trickling in from the political economics of a country now to the social issues. Now the home now becomes a place where we are looking at ourselves. What do we prefer? But I think it should be a well-defined economy where everyone makes makes their own choices, and can be able to even go out there and have a job if they need to, because our economy is so strenuous that you can't even leave a job because it's and it's a toxic environment you're in. In other developed countries where you can leave one job and go to another. Or even get a check from government, an employment check from government to sustain yourself until you can get another job. I mean, these are things in the far distant future. But I think there are so many things that we can do in the political economic environment that will shape our social issues better. Because I wouldn't say it's more of women facing more burdens. I think even the boy child is complaining today more than the woman, because they feel that the woman is getting more opportunities than they are. And young women wamejituma sana. I mean, guys are starting their own beauty shops, doing makeup all over, doing nail technicians. They're even doing it door to door. I mean, there is so much energy and potential from the youth, even going out of the country to look for new opportunities, struggling out there, trying to make ends meet. I think it's difficult for everyone. I think it's even more difficult for those with children. And that's why more and more young people are refraining from having children if they are not ready.
Let's get to another segment, and let's now talk about the future in Kenya, because you are so passionate about Kenya. Unajua vijana wa Kenya, kina mama wa Kenya, na pia the political aspect of it. Angel, you've been recognized among Kenya's top 40 under 40. Looking ahead, what's your vision for the role of the youth in Kenya's development over the next 5 to 10 years? Do we see Angel getting into the political space? Ama, what is ahead for Angel Mbuthia?
Well, I will be running for office. I'll be running for Kiambu Women Rep, and I think it's time that our generation now we stop sitting on the benches and now get into the real gist of things, get into elective politics, and I would urge every young person who has an opportunity to do the same. I think when we look at our statistics today when you look at members of county assembly, we have about 300 who are young people, and the other 1,700, they are about 1,600 are not young people. And these are opportunities MCA seats should really ideally go to young people. That's one platform, even before we go to the National Assembly. I think that is one area that we need to capture as young people, and I'll be leading that front by getting myself also into the ring and convincing Kenyans and to see exactly, are they ready also to support young people as well? Because we are here in the streets getting shot and doing all manner of things, but push comes to shove, because now we are moving from the street protest to the ballot, because as we begin by elections in November, moving on, then campaigns begin, and then we go into the election. Are we ready for that decision? Because now we know what a decision in the ballot means for yourself and for our country.
Najua kuna mtu anashangaa mbona Angel Mbuthia yameamua kwenda Kiambu, ilhali hapa Nairobi pia tuko na shida. Why Kiambu na mbona si Nairobi?
I think charity begins at home. I feel that that is, I'm from Kabete. I feel that that is where I'm more familiar with the issues. That is where I think that I would want to give back to the people of Kenya through Kiambu. I think that's also a good starting point, and from there we'll see where the journey takes us. Yeah.
Have you settled on a party ama bado uko kwele njia ya kufikiria?
I'm in Jubilee Party. I chair the Youth League in Jubilee, and I continue to serve the people of Jubilee and the members of Jubilee. So I am still very strong in Jubilee, and it is my party. Yes.
I think in the next episode, in the future, we'll talk about the Kenyan political space, especially between Jubilee and other affiliate parties.
Yes, I think that's
but today, let's talk about maswala ya vijana. Now, how do you see young people balancing activism and constructive engagement with institutions to make real change? Sababu wanasema kwamba vijana, we need to make real change in the country, but how do they balance the in-betweens?
I think that is where now the issue now will be. Like I just mentioned, are Kenyans ready to also elect young people who have been fighting for them? And is activism ideally the way to go? Because there's a very fine line between activism and leadership. And they sometimes they go hand in hand, sometimes they go separate ways. I think that will be the defining moment, because activism at the ballot has to be felt, because waking up that morning, going to cast your vote, there has to be something that makes you do that, and that is where the activism aspect comes out. And now knowing what kind of leader that you want and what kind of leader that you will be taking into office, that is where now the leadership aspect comes. So we can be very emotional when we are making political decisions, but let's also not forget our sanity as we are making political decisions, especially at the ballot, now that we are nearing that season. And I think that's something that we really need to discuss as a generation, because activism is very important. It is that activism that led us not to have the finance bill of 2024. So activism is very necessary. When we were student leaders, we began as very serious activists, and I believe that a stroke of DNA of activism is still in us, and that is what propels us in politics. But let's also not leave our sanity at home. Leadership is very critical. We cannot run our country on emotions. It has to be balanced. We have to be very, very sane and sober when we are running this country. It's a matter of life and death.
Patokee kijana ambaye amesema kwamba atakuwa anawania kiti cha urais na tuseme yuko kwenye chama kingine. Will Angel Mbuthia support ama bado tu ko pale pale?
I think it's a very open environment, and that's why I'm saying let's not run into things on emotions. I would be very happy to listen to their ideas. I would be very happy to know exactly what their plan is, and they just need to convince me. I mean, the way I will go out there and convince others. Pia tunasema tutachagua vijana. What kind of young people are we also electing? Because it's not everyone who is there who has good intentions. We've had young people who have let us down ideally in parliament, but then at the same time we also need more young people so that we have many to choose from.
Najua kuna vijana wengi who will be watching this video na wanasema I would love so much to go through this journey ambayo Angel Mbuthia amepitia. About the challenges you've gone through, some of them have shaped up whom you've become. So to every young person ambaye anatizama kwenye show hile, what word of message, encouragement will you give them as they pursue their journey and leadership career?
I think it's I would say stay focused, and things might not always work out instantly. There are things that will not even be clear about what you're doing exactly. But as long as you have the passion and you keep the faith and you trust in yourself and you trust your gut, as long as hautakimbizana na DCI
form ni nyingi
DCI ndio kuna shida. But as long as it is something that you really desire, especially to build this country and that will transform this nation, please go for it. If they arrest you because of that case we saw with the young woman who was setting up an email for people to send in their views on the finance bill 2025, and I mean, we'll be there to fight for each other, and let's protect each other, let's have each other's back. It's a country that we need to transform whether it likes or it doesn't.
Now, kuna swali nilikuwa nimekuuliza tukianza, it's about what the incident that happened a few days ago where a former nominated senator was being harassed at the gates of parliament. Na ukiangalia vizuri unapata alikuwa na court order. What's your take on this? How umeona women politicians wamezungumza wakisema it shouldn't happen in the current society. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's very sad. I felt very discouraged and disappointed by our institutions. I think that matter should have been handled differently. This is a figure or a personality that had been serving this nation, and I think they need to be given the respect that they deserve. And knowing our politics, doesn't matter whether the decisions that she made or the utterances that she made, they were not illegal. If they were, she should have been arrested. But whatever happened was very wrong. I even questioned and wondered, I mean, didn't she have any friends who are senators also? I mean, she should not have been there alone, fighting that battle alone. I think if I knew her, and if she was a friend of mine, it would have been, I would have wanted her to tell me she's going to do that, and so that I can be there to support her and to be with her. There's nothing in this country that we are going to get on a silver platter. I admire her courage, I admire her grit and her energy, because it is that stroke of activism that has to continue living in us. Yeah. Because even Thomas Sankara said that you cannot transform a country without a sense of a certain amount of madness. That's what he says. That there has to be a certain amount of madness for anything different to happen. So I'm not surprised by her actions. I mean, she fought well, but I think things don't have to be like that. That's why I'm saying millennials, we fight too hard for some of these things. They should not be that difficult, honestly.
Man, we've been having a candid and open conversation with Angel Mbuthia. Unajua naangalia portfolio yako, naangalia maneno ambayo umesema, I'm very inspired. Na najua kuna watu kule nje ambao pia wakitizama, they'll say truly she deserves the Kiambu women rep seat. Unajua, and I'm quite sure kuna mwanamke pale nje pia anatizama anasema pia mimi ningependa kufuata mkondo huo. Kindly, if you're a lady out here, the conversations that we are having are always conversations that will not only trigger a spike in you, but will also give you a reason to believe in yourself na kuamua kwamba pia mimi I must go for something in this leadership journey. Thank you so much, Angel. Your parting shot to your fans from Kiambu na pia wale ambao wanakutizama.
I think when the time comes, I will come and we will have a more deliberate conversation about the issues of Kiambu and how I can better represent and legislate and be part of the conversation on the political issues in Kiambu, and particularly to the young people of Kiambu. It's time to make Kiambu the place to be for the young people of Kiambu.
On your socials, watakupataje mtu akitaka kuconverse nawe?
Yeah, I think just hit me up on Facebook as Angel Mbuthia, on Instagram as Angel Mbuthia, on TikTok as Angel Mbuthia, on LinkedIn as Angel Mbuthia, and on email it's still angelmbuthia@gmail.com. Asante.
Now the story of Angel Mbuthia inatukumbusha kwamba the future is not tomorrow. The future is today. So to every young person in the country, Angel has your back. Mwelekeo TV also has your back. Let's keep the conversation happening on all our social media platforms. We've got so much lined up for you. Kwa hivyo wewe hakikisha kwamba unatufuatilia kwenye mitandao yetu yote ya kijamii. This is our second episode. Our first episode blew up, man, on TikTok. You guys are engaging with us, and we shall be keeping the conversation happening on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's Mwelekeo Insights. Pale kwenye YouTube subscribe, na pale kwenye TikTok kindly follow Mwelekeo TV, and we shall be getting back with conversations that not only matter to us but also matter to you. My name is Trubo Nyakoko. Kindly follow me on all my socials. Let's meet again next week. Karibu sana. Mimi ni Mwelekeo TV. I'm Tony Nyakoko.
Welcome back to Mwelekeo TV. I'm Viga.